I'm Dustin Cormier, and this is the How to Rock Astrology audio series. The information in this recording is copyrighted by Dustin Cormier, 2015, all rights reserved, except where noted in the recording. The following information on ascendant or rising signs comes from Stephen Arroyo's Chart Interpretation Handbook, copyrighted in 1989 by Stephen Arroyo, published by CRCS Publications in Sebastopol, California. I do not own the following content. Guidelines to interpreting the ascendant. Although the ascendant is of deep and pervasive importance for each individual, there is no denying that it must be related to the rest of the chart, and especially to the sun sign, in order to understand it thoroughly for a particular person. The sun, after all, is the core identity, the very center of the consciousness, the way we assimilate much of our experience, whereas the ascendant, although it varies in importance from person to person, is not as central to the person's nature. It shows, among other things, the approach to life, but the sun shows life itself. The ascendant must serve the purposes, values, and creative goals of the sun for the individual to function happily and fully. A useful tool for understanding how a person's ascendant and sun sign interact is to compare the elements of the two factors. For example, a Cancer sun sign person with a fire sign rising is usually far more extroverted, forcefully expressive, and confident than a Cancer sun individual with, say, a more conservative, self-protective earth sign rising. For another example, an air sign sun person with a water sign rising may appear much more emotional than he or she really is, whereas a water sign sun person with an air sign rising may appear far more detached and less emotional than he or she really is. It should be pointed out that people are often relatively unaware of their ascendant nature as compared to their sun sign. In that sense, the ascendant is a factor that can be consciously developed further over time and consciously utilized to aid one's self-expression. I've known people who are relieved to find what their rising signs were, since it finally gave them a way of identifying a very deep but only semi-conscious tendency in themselves. In some cases, the qualities and abilities symbolized by the ascendant were just beginning to emerge, and learning the astrological keys to this factor helped personal development greatly. I should emphasize here that perhaps more than with most other factors in the chart, the early environment can encourage or suppress the expression of the ascendant's energies, since it is a primary channel with which one interacts with the outer world. The reader should view the following comparative evaluations as guidelines and as questions to explore, rather than as rigid statements of absolute truth. Aries Modality, or quadruplicity. The Aries Modality is cardinal, the active energy mode. There are exactly 4 of these active signs in the zodiac belonging to the cardinal modality. These include Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, and they all share similar characteristics. The 4 cardinal signs exhibit more restlessness than the other 8 signs. There's a sense of, I've got to do something, and a tendency to be enamored by activity for activity's sake. These active signs share the challenge of identifying the source of their behavior. Are they motivated by true inspiration, or are they rushing around because they feel like the crap's going to hit the fan? Or maybe they're trying to avoid feeling lazy and unproductive. The element of the ascendant. The element of the ascendant reveals the quality of energy flow directly vitalizing the physical body and the overall approach to life. Fire or air signs rising tend to conduct energy, encouraging active self-expression and dynamic expenditure of energy. Earth or water rising signs tend to conserve and resist the flow of vital energies, and hence indicate self-containment, sometimes self-repression, and the tendency of living within oneself. Fire signs rising, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Great vitality, physically energetic, beams energy outward into the world. Marked by a positive, optimistic outlook on life and a confident, bluntly honest demeanor. Active, wants to make a mark on life and see the results of one's efforts manifested in the world. Action orientation can lead to wasteful excesses and less awareness of the subtler needs of self and others. Aries Ascendant. Abrupt, ambitious, Restless, impatient, always in a hurry to rush through life, these people can be quite abrasive. If Mars is in Pisces, Cancer, or one of the Earth signs, these forceful qualities can be somewhat moderated. The blunt directness of Aries' Sun that can seem so offensive, insensitive, and inconsiderate to others is often toned down in many people with Aries Ascendant. Nonetheless, the enterprising spirit of Aries is still there, sometimes even more dynamically than in many people with Aries Sun. The following information comes from Isabel Hickey's classic text, Astrology, A Cosmic Science, copyrighted in 1992 by Isabel M. Hickey Trust, published by CRCS Publications in Sebastopol, California. I do not own the following content. Aries on the Ascendant. Energy plus, impulsive, argumentative, quick-tempered, outgoing, and headstrong. Hard for a female, for it is positive, masculine, and aggressive. Apt to rush in where angels fear to tread. Get out into combat with life early. Need to learn tact and diplomacy. Good in mechanical endeavors and physical activity. Keen, alert, and quick reflexes. Make good salesmen and promoters. Need to learn to follow through in activities. Easily bored. Self-centered in an unthinking sort of way. No deliberate meanness or calculated selfishness in their makeup unless Mars is heavily afflicted. More apt to be thoughtless. The aspects and sign position to Mars will be important and will show the personality and temperament. The following information comes from The Secrets of Your Rising Sign by William Lamb with Webb Harris, Jr., copyrighted by William Lamb in 2004, first published in the USA by Fair Winds Press in Gloucester, Massachusetts. I do not own the following content. From childhood, Action Aries is charming. With an adorable smile, rambunctious behavior, and a crazy, restless, zip-zip spirit, kids with Aries rising become the grown-up early birds who catch the worm. People with Aries rising are at the door before the party starts, prompt to the meeting table while the business papers are still being shuffled. To say the least, they're short on patience. They exhibit a childlike honesty throughout life and expect an honest, direct approach from others. They're easily annoyed by people who are less than candid. These folks are an up-and-atom, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, shoot-for-the-hip, ask-me-I'll-tell-ya, honest Injuns. Physical type. A physical resemblance to parents or grandparents. Good muscle tone, an attractive forehead. Favorite color, bright red. The following information comes from Isabel Hickey's Astrology, A Cosmic Science, copyrighted in 1992 by Isabel M. Hickey Trust, published by CRCS Publications in Sebastopol, California. The significance of the Sun and the Sun sign in astrology. The symbol of the Sun in astrology is a circle with a dot in the middle. This is a very deep occult spiritual symbolism. The circle represents the eternal self that did not start here and does not finish here on earth. The dot in the middle represents the divine spark at the center of every living cell, the light which lighteth every man which cometh into the world. It is the point of light at the center of every living cell. In the blueprint, the sun represents the main expression of the individual, the heart and core of beingness. The sun has a different effect on individuals born at different times of the year. According to the sign and house in which the sun is placed, we are able to judge the general vitality and physique, the qualities of leadership, and the individual's ability to succeed in life. In a personal chart, the sun represents the basic drive for significance, the will, male relationships and female charts, especially with the father, vital energy coming from the etheric levels and prana, fuel on which the total personality operates, urge for power, constitutional strength, and finally, a powerful sun means very great power to do and to be. Keywords of the sun: will, individuality, spirit. The sun is the significator of the spirit in man, the beingness or isness of life. It rules the basic drive for significance, the will to be. Physically, the sun is the sustainer of life, giver of light, heat, and energy. More than anything else in the chart, it shows the will, man's highest expression. Its aspects show deep character traits, the chief ambitions. It needs aspects to the planets for strength of expression in the horoscope. As the sun moves through the signs, its return to the sign of its exaltation, Aries, the eastern horizon, marks the beginning of the astrological year. Springtime brings the release of a new cycle of life. As the sun moves through the houses, its return to the eastern horizon is the beginning of the astrological day, sunrise. The sun sign in its element. The following information comes from Stephen Arroyo's Chart Interpretation Handbook, copyrighted in 1989 by Stephen Arroyo, published by CRCS Publications in Sebastopol, California. I do not own the following content. The sun sign's element is usually dominant in considering the overall psychology of a person. This is so because the sun sign's element reveals the attunement of one's basic vitality, identity, and power of self-projection, as well as the fundamental quality of his or her consciousness. The element of one's sun sign reveals the basic inner force motivating everything we do. The element of the sun sign also gives insight into how any individual sees life itself and what expectations they have of the life experience. Libra Sun. Libra is an air sign. These are the common characteristics of people born with the sun in air signs. Basically motivated by intellectual concepts and social ideals. Recharges energy through social involvement and intellectual stimulation. Interpretive guidelines for Sun in Libra. Creative energy directed toward interpersonal relationships and initiating ideas. Needs to be recognized for impartiality, fairness, kindness, and ability to harmonize opposing energies. Radiates sociable, graceful, intellectual vitality and a refined sensitivity to beauty. Constant urge to create balance in one's relationships and lifestyle. Sense of individuality can be obliterated through overconcentration on pleasing others. This final article comes from The Secrets of Your Rising Sign by William Lamb with Webb Harris Jr., copyrighted by William Lamb in 2004, first published in the USA by Fair Winds Press in Gloucester, Massachusetts. I do not own the following content. Libra born around sundown. Libra with Aries rising. Here comes a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, summer's coming whippersnapper. The Aries personality, with an obliging "what can I do for you" Libra attitude, is usually a joy to behold. For those who can keep up with their zip-zip, no time to waste behavior, that is. If these Librans can play their cards right, and they often do, they're some of the happiest critters on the planet. Because of their sundown dinner-time birth, there's an extra dose of polite, obliging Libra here, and with their up-and-atom, spry, and optimistic Aries personality, they show up early and stay late with their sleeves rolled up, always ready to do more than their fair share. After all, Libra is always looking for approval, and action Aries can't sit down anyway, so why not leap in, get up to speed, and lend a hand? With a good feel for who complements whom, and a penchant for workable partnerships, coupled with the people skills to make the most of social occasions, Librans with Aries rising might be wonderful party planners or banquet organizers. They're adept at getting good help and making most of their word-of-mouth advertising. Plus, their efficient Aries gives them just what it takes to keep a multitude of people with varied individual preferences happy and well served over the course of an evening. They're attentive to everyone's needs and never let anyone feel neglected or left out. Slow service is not in their vocabulary. If there's a problem for these Librans, it might be their Aries impatience rushing them into partnerships with people who just don't fit well. And when disappointed in their relationships, they're inclined to get busy-dizzy, neglecting their partners while zipping through their lives and doing everything possible to avoid thinking ahead. There's sometimes a lack of foresight here, as well as a dislike for being alone, so an adequate amount of planning for the future and a willingness to be self-sustaining are capabilities that need to be cultivated. Though they're masterful at inspiring others, they need to understand that some people refuse to be inspired. And when that's the case, it's time to lighten up and move along to greener pastures.